Hey, this is Toby. Today we continue to code the volume profile EA. This is the second part. I will link the first part up here. So today we write some of the core logic for the EA. And in the end of the series, we will have a volume profile EA that shows the tick volume of our symbol. We have a look back line we can adjust, and we can scroll back in history to see the volume profile and use it for manual trading or also implement this in your EAs. Okay, so let's switch to Visual Studio Code and we start coding. Okay, this is where we left off here in the Visual Studio Code editor. Of course, you can also use the default meta editor. In the end of the series, I will also upload the code on my website if you don't want to code this on your own. But let's continue here. So first of all, I want to add some more inputs for our EA. We have already some inputs here for the line. And now I want to add some inputs for the volume profile. So we can create a new group. I'll just copy this here. And I will call this volume profile. And here the first input is of type integer. So input integer, and I start all my inputs with this prefix here. So input volume profile number of bars. And here the user can specify the number of bars to calculate the volume profile from. So by default, maybe we set this to 50. Let's also write a comment here. Number of bars. Next input is also of type integer and is called input volume profile look back bars. So this is the actual look back in history. The volume profile number bars, we will use this actually for the volume profile. So how many bars are used to, or what is the resolution of the volume profile, basically. I can show this here. If I change this input number of bars to 200, you can see the resolution is much higher of the volume profile, because now we have 200 bars here in this range. If I change this to 50, we can see there are some bigger steps here in the resolution. So that's the input here. And the second one is for the actual look back, how many bars we want to use to calculate the volume profile. And here we write another comment, look back bars, and one last input also of type integer called input volume profile max ticks. We want to limit maybe the number of ticks we use to calculate the volume profile. And I will just set this to 2 million by default. And let's write a comment here, max ticks to copy. So this is just used to limit the number of ticks. To 2 million. Okay, let's hit compile. Make sure you don't have any mistakes here. Okay, perfect. And now I want to create a structure for our volume profile. So we do this after the input section. I will create a new section here. Copy this comment. Let's call this global variables. Variables. And here we will create a structure. So structure is the keyword, and let's name this volume underscore profile underscore bar. And here we have a member of integer called ticks, a double member called low, and another double member called high. Okay, and we also write a constructor for this structure, volume profile bar. So if we create a structure, then the variables or members here are initialized, and we want to initialize them with 0. So ticks, and then in bracket 0, comma low 0, and high 0, and then 2 brackets here, and that's it. Now we should be able to compile again. Okay, we have some mistakes. Public, I think we need a semicolon here at the end of our structure. Okay, now we compile without any mistakes. So this is the structure we'll use for the volume profile. Okay, next I want to change here the class name. So rename this C lookback line to maybe C volume profile. Replace all. So now all the class names are replaced with C volume profile. And I want to add a few more members to the class here in the private section. So first of all, our structure now, volume profile bar, called m underscore bars. So this is an array of this structure type. And next of type integer, called m underscore tick count, another integer, m underscore look back bars, and a string called line name. Actually, we can use our string member here and just rename this to m underscore line name. Replace all. Okay, and another integer m underscore left index, and also of type integer m underscore right index. You can also write this in a new line, but you can also separate the same type here by comma. And last one here of type datetime, m left time and m underscore right time. Like this. Now let's hit compile. Maybe, yeah, make sure you don't have any mistakes here. So we have new members here, and let's also align this a little bit. Okay, now I also want to update here the constructor. So right now we set the line name in the constructor, but I also want to set the tick count. So m underscore tick count, we set this to 0, semicolon. And of course we keep the line name here. And I also want to set the lookback member to our input, volume profile lookback bars, semicolon. Okay, let's hit compile again. Make sure you don't have any mistakes, and yeah, don't continue to code when you have a mistake, but yeah, fix it and then continue to code. So next one, I want to add some methods here in the public space. First of all, of type void on init, void on dinit, and void on tick. And we already have the chart event method here. I would just copy this, paste it here. On init, on deinit, on tick, on chart event. And I also want to rename this create function to draw look back line. Draw look back line. And of course, we also need to rename this here. Okay, now we should be able to compile again. Okay, we have a mistake. Okay, also rename this here. Draw look back line. And now let's hit compile. Okay, looks good. Okay, next let's use these functions here. So right here after the class description, we can write maybe just a comment. Let's call this live cycle for now. And here the first function is of type void c volume profile, our class name, and then on init. And in here, we just call the draw lookback line function with the time current. Like this. And later here, we will also call a function called calc volume profile. So I just write a comment here for now. Okay, next one is the on deinit. So again, void c volume profile on deinit. And in here, we just delete the lookback line. So object delete 0 for the current chart and our name line name. Okay, next, we can also write this maybe in one line. Depends on your preference, how you want to structure your code. So next, I write the on tick function. So c volume profile on tick. And here we write also just a comment. Calc volume profile. Let's actually do this in another line. And close this here. And the last one is the chart event function. So again, type void c volume profile and it's called on chart event. And here we just have a few parameters. So a constant integer ID and a constant string by reference as parameter. And in here we just check if the user basically moved or deleted the lookback line. And in this case, we want to update and draw the lookback line again. So we can just write an if statement here if ID equals chart event underscore object delete. And our s parameter here is equal to our member line name. Like this. In this case, we call draw lookback line with the time current. Okay, now before we are able to compile, we probably need to update this on chart event function. We have a constant string here, but here in our class, I think we just have a string parameter. So let's also write constant here. And we also already have the on chart event function down here. So let's delete this here. And now we should be able to compile. Okay. Yeah, make sure you don't have any mistakes. And now we can continue. Okay, next I want to actually call these functions. So we can go down to the end. We have already our event handling function section here. And here, first of all, I want to rename this line object now from the C volume profile class to maybe just volume profile. Rename. So now we have our onInit function where we call the onInit function and not the draw lookback function. So just onInit here. And yeah, we also want to return init succeeded. So we can keep this here. Next, for the onDinit, we want to just call the onDinit function now of our class. For the onTick, we call the onTick function. So volume profile dot onTick. And then we have the chart event function. And we just call the volume profile on chart event. And here we need the two parameters, the ID and the string parameter. Okay, so onInit, onDinit, onTick, on chart event. Of course, you could also write the code of these onTick functions directly here into the onTick function of the expert advisor. But for example, if you want to use the class for another EA, then it's easier to have a onTick function inside your class and just call this onTick function in the main event handling function of the EA. Okay, let's hit compile. We have a few mistakes. Let's see. Without type. Okay, we also renamed here this enum. That's not what we want. So enum, this was probably line style. Let's compile again. Yeah, you have to be careful with just replace with the replace function. Also here object, it's called v line. Okay. So now we don't have any mistakes and we can continue. Okay, now we will start to write some of the core logic of the EA. So we want to create a function that calculates the left and right index and time of the currently visible chart. So if we take a look at the chart here, we want to have a function that returns the time of the leftmost bar and the rightmost bar, and also the index of these bars. So we always know what range we need to look at to calculate the volume profile. So for this, we will write a private function. Here's the public section. So let's create a new section here. Private. And here of type Boolean. We write the name of the function is called maybe get visible window, and we have a few parameters. So the first parameter, all passed by reference, because we want to get back the left index from this function, we also want to have the right index, then of type datetime, the left time, datetime, right time, and also by reference here. So add the and sign in front of the parameter name. So we have left index, left time, right time. And now we write the body and the logic of this function. So I will just copy this. And maybe we write this after the lookback function here, or method. We also need to specify the type of the function, the return type, and the namespace is C, basically our class. Double colon, and we open the body. Okay, now we should be able to compile because we have the function now. We also need to return true for now. So we're able to compile without any mistakes. And here we basically calculate, as I said, the left index and right index and left and right time of the current chart. So first of all, we want to declare a variable of type long called first visible. We set this or initialize this with 0. And another variable also of type long. So I just add a comma here called visible and underscore count, and we also initialize this with 0. Okay, next we write a if statement to get the first visible bar of the chart. So for this, exclamation mark, and we call the chart get integer function. This is a built-in function of the mql5 language. We need to specify the chart ID here, so 0 for the current chart. Now the property is chart underscore first visible bar, and sub window also 0, and we get the value in our long variable first visible, like this. And if this fails, we return false. Actually, if you only have one expression here, you don't need the brackets for the body of the if statement. So that's also fine. Now you can compile again if you want. We will write another if statement, pretty similar. We also use the chart get integer function, and this time we change the property to chart visible bars, and we change the parameter or the parameter here, visible count, and we also return false if this fails. So make sure you add the exclamation mark here in the beginning. That's very important. Now we can also hit compile again. Okay, now we write another if statement to check if the visible bar count here is below or equal to 0. In this case, we also want to return false. We just want to make sure that there is a valid number stored in our variable. And now we can also already calculate the left index. The left index, and this is of type integer. Here is the first visible bar. Because this is a long parameter, we need this to be a long parameter, because this chart get integer function needs a long parameter here, but we cast this to an integer for the left index. We also set the right index, and this time we use the left index and we subtract basically the count. So integer visible count minus +1, sorry, +1. And this gives the right index of the chart. So this is this bar here on the left and the bar on the right. Okay, now we also want to calculate, of course, the left and right time. So for this, just say left time here, and this is equal. Now we use the time function, and we use the current symbol here. Now for the time frame, we use the current time frame, period current, and our left index. And we do the same for the right time. time underscore symbol, period current, and our right index. Okay. And the last step is here to return true or false. And yeah, right now we just return true, but we want to maybe check if the left time is greater than 0 and also the right time is greater than 0. In this case, we know the calculation here was successful and we basically return true. And if one of those, so left time or right time, is equal or below 0, we return false for this function call. Okay, let's hit compile. Make sure that you don't have any mistakes. And yeah, maybe we also add a print statement so we can actually see the calculated time just to debug. So print, and maybe we start here, left time, and then just left time and right time. Okay, so left time, right time. Let's compile again. Okay, now we of course want to call this function, but we will call this function get visible window inside another function. So let's write another function here, again of type Boolean, see volume profile, our class name, and we will call this function maybe calc range from visible. And we have a few parameters here. So double and by reference out high. So what we want to do with this method is just calculate the high and the low of our symbol here. So later we use this to calculate the volume profile. So the high and the low, for example, here would be up here and down here. So let's write the parameters here, out high, another parameter of type double, passed by reference, out low, a count of the number of bars, also by reference, and also a date time by reference out left, and date time by reference out right. Okay, we return true here in the end. And let's also add this to the description of our class. So I will go up here, and after our get visible window function, we now add this new method here, add a semicolon at the end, like this. Now we should be able to compile without any mistakes. Okay, perfect. And now let's write the logic here. First of all, we want to call our get visible window function here in a if statement, maybe with a exclamation mark. So get visible window. The left index is our m left index, m right index, and m left time, and m underscore right time. Okay, like this. And if this fails, we want to return false. Okay. That it's let's hit compile and let's just check if our get visible window function here works. So for this, of course, we need to call the calculate range from visible function. And yeah, maybe we do this for now in the on tick function just to check. So I will go up here in the on tick function. And after this comment, I will just call this function now. Our tie. Yeah, of course, now we need some variables here. Out high, out low, and datetime out left time and out right time. Right time. It's just so we see if our calc range from visible works correctly. So now we can use this here, out high, out low, out left time, out right time. And we should get the print statement. Let's hit compile. Okay, wrong parameters. 5 required. Double integer data. Okay, there's another parameter we need. I think it's the count. Yeah. So a integer count, and we pass this here after the out low, like this. Let's hit compile again, and let's run this in the metatrader 5 platform to see if we get the print statement. So I will remove this, or let's say I will open a new chart here, and let's just put the volume profile on the chart, default values, and let's open up the terminal log, and we can see the time is printed out here. The left time is 3 o'clock. Yeah, so that's the leftmost bar here, and the right time is 9:50. Yeah, and the right time. And if I move this now, the chart, we can see the time is changing and updating. Okay, that looks good. That works. So let's remove this EA again. Go back to the editor. Okay, so let's continue our function here. Where is it? Here, calc range from visible. So we get the visible window, and now we want to check if the look back is greater than the history available of the current symbol. But we will write this function later. I will just write a comment here, look back bars, and we will have something like clamp look back to history where we enter the right index and the look back bars. So m underscore. But we will do this later in the video. Now we want to set our count to the m look back member. And now we want to calculate the index of the highest price of the symbol. So integer index high equals I. We can use the built-in function I highest here. The current symbol. So underscore symbol. Now for the time frame period current mode high, the count, and the start index is our m right index. We get here m right index. Actually, I don't think we need the member. We can just make this a local variable. That's maybe better. But let's code this and then I will change it maybe. So integer index low equals I lowest underscore symbol period current mode low and count, and this time again our m right index, because we start at the right most right bar here, and with the count we get the number of bars we want to look at. Okay, and now we can calculate the high, because here we just have the index of the high. Now we can actually calculate the price. So out high equals I high and then underscore symbol period current and our index high we just calculated. We do the same for the low. So out low equals I low symbol period current and index low. Okay, and we return if our out high is greater than 0 and our out low is greater than 0. In this case, we return true. Now let's actually see if we need to use these member variables here, because I think we can just use local variables. That would be better. So let's write integer left index and right index here, and then we use them instead of left index or m underscore left index and m underscore right index here, and of course here, and also for the left time and right time we actually can just use our out left here and our out right. Let's get this all in one on the screen. So left index, right index, out left for the time, out right for the time, and we will just pass this here by reference. So when we call this calculate range from visible method later, we get the left right index and the left and right time. Okay, let's hit compile. Make sure you don't have any mistakes, and Yeah, perfect. Okay, now I see the video is already pretty long, so we will continue in the next part. If you don't want to spend the time coding this here with the tutorial, I will upload the code on my website. And yeah, I wish you a great week, good trades, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.